So, my dear ones, here it is, our last Sunday in July. And what a fantastic Sunday. I mean, June. Well, you know, I just realized I'm a month younger than I thought I was. And that has to be a good thing. That has to be a good. July is on my mind, actually, I have to say. But anyway, June. It's not busting out all over anymore, and July is ready to come in. And so I'm sure some of you will be very glad to be finished with May grey and June gloom. But don't bet on it by the beach. Anyway, my dear ones, any day at the beach is a good day. We know that. But what a great, yes, isn't it? A very good day. And we're blessed to be here, thankfully. But we have concluded a whole month of being focused on empowerment, focused on protecting the vulnerable. And today we're looking at that in the light of being engaged in a love-centered way with life and living. And of course, that's way on the eve now of our celebration of the 4th of July, which actually is wondrous indeed, because the energy for all of that to happen in a beautiful way has been already set up this weekend. As I was saying this morning, I don't know much about sports really, because I don't have the time to get to know and learn and be interested in all, but I do know a little bit about soccer, because that's what I grew up with. And the women had a great day in Paris in spite of the heat, did they not? They came home, you know, with the trophy. But anyway, we'll see how that proceeds. But whatever, they're a solid and great team. Good for them. And as well as that, we had the celebration of Stonewall. I was watching a beautiful program on that over the weekend. They did it very well. And of course, the weekend ended up with the finishing of Pride Month with the great parade that they had over there in New York. And that's a wonderful thing too, because that has very much to do with what we're celebrating on the 4th of July, is it not? I mean, it has to do with our citizens' rights for the experience and the realization and the expression through us all of liberty and freedom and equality and justice and the pursuit of happiness for all. So the energy has been set, the stage, for our great celebration coming up on the 4th of July. And it's one of my favorite celebrations, I have to say. Because this great land and what we call the new America that was, created as a result of a change in consciousness on the part of leadership at that time, that made that statement that from here on in this country will be committed and dedicated to the freedom, the liberty, the equality, the justice and the pursuit of happiness for all, even though they were not ready for that to happen in their own lives, even though they couldn't go there themselves fully at all in their own lives. Nevertheless, that power of that idea was so potent and strong and powerful within them that they had to let it through, they had to express it, and they had to make it part, the essential part of the new Constitution and the new way of being in this country as far as leadership is concerned. Who ever heard of a country that was going to be led for the people, by the people, before, ever? A country of the people, for the people, and by the people. What a novel idea. Now, whether or not that's what it is an idea that we're still entertaining and owning and saying we're working on it, we will get there. And by Jiminy Crickets, that is absolutely an intention of ours, that this is what it will become. A country of the people, for the people, by the people. That's what we're going to aim at, is it not? No, it didn't say for some of the people. It said for all the people. All the people. So, what I celebrate on the 4th of July is the fabulous, even though we have so many faults and failings and made some wretched mistakes. In spite of that, this is a great place of opportunity for people who have drive and passion and are willing to put their back to the plow and make it happen. It really is. There's no other country you can say this of, to the extent that you can say it of us here, in the way we do what we do here, according to our rubrics here. Now, I'm not saying that other countries don't do a great job of taking care of people. Yes, they do. I'm just saying that this is a place where anything can happen. Anything can happen. Anyone can be the president here. Really, anyone. Anyone. And that's a phenomenal thing. That's miraculous. You know, that is miraculous. And I celebrate that. I celebrate that. But what I look to in my celebration is the beautiful Lady Liberty. I can always remember, even when I used to fly in here on vacation, when I'd fly over that harbor and I'd see that strong, powerful symbol with the light held aloft, with the welcome there, because that's what it always spelled out to me. It moved me. It always moved me, but now it moves me even more than ever, now that I live here. Part of it all, the great dream. And so I'm very, very committed to her message, to her energy, to her potency, to her power, and to her invitation. Give me your tired, your poor. Give me your wretched refuse. Give me those people who come from swarming, teeming shores. Give them to me. Give me your homeless, tossed tempest people too. For I hold my lamp on high beside the golden door of welcome and opportunity. It makes me cry at times when I really get it at a deep level. What an awesome thing that is. There's no one else, nowhere else has that message or believed in that message the way we have. And the way we will continue to believe it. Absolutely we will. It's an enormously amazing, advanced, higher conscious awareness statement. And that is totally in keeping with the teaching of science of mind and spirit. There's only one power. There's only one life. There's only that one whole life. And that life is my life. That life is all life now. That's what it is. One people in this world. One people, one world. One language, the language of love, the only language that everybody understands, the only language that everybody can speak, the only language that everyone can assimilate and move on, the language of love. When I was a long time ago in a faraway land, I was introduced to this Greek word called agape. And that's translated as universal unconditional love. Universal, not tribal, not national, universal unconditional love. Now that is our aim in our teaching. In all spiritual teaching, in all wisdom teaching, that is the aim. That is the aim. And it will not be ignored. Now, I don't see very much of that showing up in politics myself, but I would like to see more of it showing up in politics, and it can. How can that happen? Well, we're all political beings. We're all political creatures. It can show up in you, and it can show up in me. along with the principles upon which this country, this new America, was founded. That's the only way we're going to reach that goal of equality, inclusivity, and the same treatment all round for everyone and all life on our planet. We are the stewards of this planet Earth. It's up to us to take care of it and to take the responsibility of it upon ourselves for every living thing on this plane. It's big, my dear ones. It's big. Love is a very big language, and you and I have to become its expression in wider and wider and wider circles, so that the circle includes everybody. Inclusivity is what you and I are called to understand and to make sure that that's a part of the way we live our lives, that all are included in the dialogue, so to speak. It's one great dialogue on this planet Earth. People never shut up. Have you noticed that? Everywhere, it doesn't matter where you go. It's all one great dialogue. And so the dialogue has to be in that energy, from that energy of love, which is a very intelligent, potent, powerful force and presence. That's what love is. We're not talking about anything less than that. We're not talking about all the misinterpretations of what love is. Again, by the people, for the people, and the people include all the people. For all of those beautiful, amazing values, for all. That's what equality is. So that's what I'm celebrating this coming week. I don't know about you, but that's what I'll be celebrating. And I love the piece about Susan B. Anthony when she was asked if she prayed, if she was a woman of prayer. She said, my prayer is this. My prayer is every day taking action, working hard to bring about equality for women, so that one day women can have the vote the same as men can. That's my prayer. That's my work. My work is my prayer. And I love that, because what you and I are called to is sacred activism, spiritual action. That's what we're called to. Because spirituality means nothing if it's not moving us to take action along the lines of service, and more service to bringing about a compassionate world that works for everyone. That's our manifesto in our organization, to help support and create a compassionate world that works for all of life. Now, how can you separate that from politics? You and I cannot do that and be sitting in those seats on a Sunday. And you and I have to become really expert at negotiations. Now, in a negotiation, as far as I know, both people or both parties bring something and put the something on the table. You show up with something, like you do when you go visit a neighbor or a friend or whatever. Well, that's how some of us were raised. You take something with you, a gift of some kind. It's a gesture. And that's where negotiation begins. You bring something, you put it on the table, and then you see what you can do with what's on the table. And you don't leave the table until some decision has been made with regard to some kind of movement to understand more fully each other, so that we can leave it at least respecting each other, honoring each other's differences, and having established at least a first meeting and leaving it in such a way that there's an opportunity for another meeting. That's what I was always taught, as far as negotiations are concerned. So you and I have to become very skilled at that in every aspect of our lives and living. But for that to happen, you have to be a great listener. You have to be really able to be present and see the other in order to understand where the other is coming from before you demonize them, before you even start the negotiation. And we're very good at demonizing each other. So that has to stop if love is to have its way with us all, and love is the language that we speak. It's a common language. As I say, it's a universal language, and no less than that is demanded of us. Now, Ernest Holmes points out in his handbook, he says, if all of us could just simply express the love that we are called to express, and that is to be able to see and recognize the divine in all aspects of life and in every person we meet, he said, then we will indeed be loving our neighbor with our whole heart, our whole soul, our whole power, and our whole mind, and our whole might. Because that's what loving your neighbor means. And your neighbor, well, in the catechism class that I was taught as a wee tot, when the answer to the question was, who is my neighbor, was the question. And the answer was, my neighbor is all mankind, even those who differ from me in religion. And I don't know why we just picked out religion, but we did. But my neighbor was all mankind, even those who differ from me in religion. Well, that's not the way the religions lived out exactly their religions, I don't think, as well as they might. But that was the answer. My neighbor is all humanity. It's all of creation. I'm in it. I live next to it. It lives next to me, and that's my neighbor. And I'm supposed to love my neighbor. A non-starter if I don't know how to love myself, but we've been there, haven't we? We've discussed this, and we've pondered this, and we've considered this, until we're blue in the face, and I wonder if it makes any difference. But that's it, my dear ones. You are called, and I am called to measure up. And nobody's judging us except ourselves. Nobody's judging. Nobody has the capacity or the power to judge us except ourselves. And so how are we doing in that regard? We have maybe a little bit of more leisure time this week to consider these things. And when we are entering into our celebrations, not to enter into them superficially, but understand and realize that many people pay the price for the kind of land we're living in and the kind of government that we have now. Gave up their lives. Terrible wars were fought. Not only the War of Independence, but the Civil War. And many countries have seen civil war, including Ireland, the land I was born in. And that's the most horrible war of all, when you have father against son and brother against brother and so on. And broken-hearted women all over the place because of it. So let's not take it too for granted, too much for granted, because a price was paid to bring us to where we are right now, and the price is still being paid. So what we can do, I loved Kennedy when he said, ask not what, your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. I love that. But I remember what Reagan said before, a while back. He said, we got to remember, he said, that we are about a year away from self-destruction at that time, whatever that time was. That's what he said. Well, we're always about a step away from that on three-dimensional planet Earth, because our emotional intelligence hasn't kept up with our mental intelligence, our intellectual intelligence. And sometimes it's like 4-year-olds playing with bombs, That's the difference between the intelligent quotient and the emotional quotient kind of thing. And when you think of that, it's remarkable how well we're doing. I mean, really, isn't it? It's remarkable how well we're doing. Gosh, we're resilient. We're very strong, and we can pull it off. We're good at pulling things off just at the brink. But we don't want to wait to get to the brink in our lives about things anymore. We want to be measured. We want to be composed. We want to be prepared. And to do that, what happens is you and I must take time out to ponder where I am in my life, what all of this means to me in my life, what the impact it's having on my life, and what is my response to it all. What's it all about, Alfie? Always I ask myself that question. We have a little bird. I'm teaching a class, a ministerial class at the moment, at the weekend, and we have birds singing choruses. We're serenaded through the whole thing because we keep the door open. But one little fellow, whom we call Alfie, they called it Alfie because I'm always saying, what's it all about, Alfie? Anyway, and Alfie knows. And that little bird would chirp up at most appropriate times. He'd sing out at most appropriate times where we'd be in our time together. And it just reminded us all of how nature is so incredibly marvelous, intelligent, mysterious, and unique. And things like that put us in awe. They put us in awe, but why can't we awe each other in the same way? For heaven's sakes, if a little bird can do it, a butterfly can do it, a squirrel can do it, hanging upside down and drinking out of the bird feeder and so on to the last drop. I mean, those things are incredible, but they're bound and determined. I tell you, they're on a mission and they accomplish it. Why can't we be like that? Why can't we be just like nature, with nothing in the way of us that tells us we can't do it? Nothing in the way to tell us we cannot do it. We can do this. And let me tell you, the world needs us to stay awake now, to be strong now, to be all that we can be now, because it's up to you, it's up to me. Nobody else is going to do it or be it. You're the only one that can, and I'm the only one that can. It's not about I wish they could hear this. It's not about I wish they could do it. It's about what can I do? What can I do? What is mine to do is always the question. In every gift of every good day, and every day, regardless of what's in it, is a gift. I wonder if we realize that. Every day you wake up is a gift. And any great good thing can happen. It happens all the time for people. That eureka moment. And it only happens in the now day, in the now moment. It's not happening mañana and it can't happen yesterday. It always happens now. Isn't that interesting? How it always, breakthroughs happen now. I can't say, well, I'm going to have a breakthrough tomorrow. I have it planned for 2:30 in the afternoon. I'll be sitting down with a cup of tea and there it'll be, eureka. No, it's when we least expect it, but it only happens when you and I have put in the preparation for it to happen, when we have created an open receptivity, a vortex of energy for that good thing to come through. And that's not going to happen unless you and I are focused, awake, present, intentional, committed, and bound and determined that we are going to leave this world a little better than we found it, and leave it feeling a little better than we did for much of the time while we were here. So that we can just throw the tassel over the head and say, great, it was fun, it was good while it lasted, but now I'm on to graduation and my next big thing. And it is a big thing. It's an advancement, it's an advancement, it's an advancement. And I can say that with absolute certainty because I know that life is always in a forward movement. It doesn't go back. It goes forward all of the time, like it or not. So how is it going to be for you this beautiful coming week and the celebration of the 4th of July? We are so blessed. We're the only ones that do this the way we do it, really. Really. It's a family day with us. It's not all politics and political parades and everything else. It's a family day. We get together with our family, we get together with our friends, we watch games, we play games, we eat and we chat and we eat and we chat and we drink and we eat and we chat and we drink and we... And you know, it's all about being together, camaraderie, and having a fun time. Playtime is what it is. For most of us, not for everyone, but for most of us. And even those who are struggling, even those who don't have very much at all, on that day endeavor to make the most of it. Make the most of it. So I would say to us all, if we know a neighbor who is in need, or if we know of someone who's in need, and maybe cannot look forward to it the way most of us do, well, then maybe we can do something about that. It's that sacred activism, it's that spiritual action that you and I are called to take that makes us, that molds us, that brings us into that higher sense of self and the higher cause we're engaged in. And it lets it be clear to us why we're here and what we're here for, because I know you have the same feeling that I have. If you can make somebody's day a little bit better, there's no better, sweeter feeling than that. There's nothing that puts a smile on your face the way that puts a smile on your face. And it's because you're recognizing you're being who you're here to be. You've been who you came to be in this circumstance and situation. And so if we can help somebody, that's what it's all about. There's even a song, if I can help somebody, then my living will not be in vain. I mean, that is what it's all about. Hands being held out to each other, helpful hands, supportive hands, hands that are healing, hands that are safe hands, hands that are healing, safe hands is what we extend to each other as we include everybody in the great circle of life. In the great circle of life, all are there, you are, and everyone else is, and everything else is as well. So my dear ones, you've got it. You really have it. You're really called to higher expressions of life and living if you're sitting there and you have discovered something greater than yourself and you're able to identify with something greater than yourself. So I say, God bless America. And when I say that, I have you in mind. I have the people I know and love in mind, and I see them multiplied all over this land, because that's what I discover when I explore different states in the United States of America. My money is on the people, the government of the people, for the people, and by the people. That's where my money is, I'm telling you. I have faith in the people of the United States of America because I've met them everywhere I've gone, and I can only say they are very wonderful, warm, and welcoming people that I have met and willing to share what they have to share. And I believe in the land, I believe in its principles, I believe in the people, and that's all I have to do to know all is well with us, and all will be well and better when all of us extend to each other that same warmth, that same message that Lady of the Harbor extends. And if you will indulge me right now, we are going to finish up with Reverend Mary coming up here and singing The Lady of the Harbor.